Yeah, if the price tickets goes up, there's always going to be people paying. It's going to be a certain demographic. Like it's not going.
It's only going to be videographers buying those tickets who can afford to go. You know. All right, welcome to the latest episode of Game Day Glare. I'm Lance. I'm with E. This is the podcast for sports videographers. How you doing, E?
Really good, really good. Big. Well, I was going to say big week. Not. I was just telling you my brother's getting married, so running around, but not a really big week in terms of working. Actually, I shouldn't say that because, like, at the moment of this recording, just the what's it called, the Prime Big Deal Days is the name of the sale on Amazon, which is a bit of a weird name, a mouthful, but yeah, it just ended. So I was working on that the last couple of days. So yeah, a lot of running around. What about you?
NHL is back, baby. NHL season just started. I got the home opener coming up, got rehearsals, got all that stuff. By the time this airs, actually, it will be the day of the home opener, the day after the home opener. But yeah, so I got all that stuff to get ready for and that. And, you know, it's always exciting, a new year of NHL. It's kind of weird because you're all excited for that one night, and then the second game you're like, okay, I got 40 games left, you know. And it goes fast. I mean, it goes ups and down. It all depends on how your team does, but the season goes by fast. And this is my 23 years I've been there, and it should be my 24th season, but there was a lockout year back in 04 so it doesn't count, you know.
And who are they playing in the first game?
We're playing Seattle. Yeah, which is kind of, I don't know. I mean, they played last night. They played Toronto last night. So they always have that original six rivalry, which is always cool. But yeah, it's kind of weird to have Seattle as the first game of the season. But I mean, I think the jersey, actually Seattle, I think has one of the nicest jersey setups in the league. I really like their stuff. So it'll be cool to see. And anyway, I always enjoy a home opener. It's a little nerve wracking sometimes because I'm usually on the ice filming the players, like coming out for their introduction and stuff like that. So usually a lot of the stations pool my shot. I don't know, this year my rehearsal is only tomorrow where I am, but it's always a lot of pressure the first game. But once that first game's over and the introduction's done, it's like, whew, all this weight's lifted off your shoulders. Like, just drop the puck. Let's play some hockey. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited for that. Now, today we're going to be talking. You brought up this subject, and you kind of did something on your YouTube channel that's related to it. Yes. But we want to talk about vertical shooting, vertical editing, because listen, vertical's taken over. I was really hoping vertical was just a phase. I'm not a big fan of vertical, and I'm not a big fan of vertical. Not that I don't like watching vertical content, not that I don't think it looks good. It just it adds a lot more work as a video editor, a lot more planning. So that's what we're going to go over today, is kind of how to, you know, master that workflow, how to kind of plan properly. Because I personally would much rather shoot horizontal every time than vertical. But there are times where you should shoot horizontal, and there are times where you can shoot vertical. So we'll go through all that. But for me personally, I feel it's like a lot more work. And I want to mention something. There was this big Instagram trend. So I think there's a chance that horizontal comes back, because everybody the last couple of weeks have been posting these little slit videos that are like, 2,580 by 1080. So it's like, if we could post that on our Instagram, then why can't we go back to regular horizontal videos then? Well, what's your thought on that, by the way? I think it looked good. I mean, I don't understand why everyone says, "Oh my God, it's cinematic." It's not cinematic. You just squish the field of view. You have to set up a cinematic shot to have a cinematic shot. Just because you change the aspect ratio does not make your shot cinematic. At least in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's.
And did you do one? Did you post one like that?
No, I haven't.
No?
No. I think it can be cinematic if it's shot that way. Like, the idea is to have to be like anamorphic lenses. It's like the idea is to have like a lot more information in your frame, a lot more content. But if it's just a normal shot that you're then cropping super thin, like, it doesn't add anything. But I don't really like it personally. Not that I don't have anything against it, but like, I think the whole point of everything being vertical is that it fills your screen when you're on your phone and you're just scrolling and watching videos. So to have this format, which is what, like a tenth of your phone, if that, I don't really see the purpose unless the point is to be able to put something underneath, like a long caption or something, like an ad, or like to have like, maybe that's the end goal, is to have like ads underneath that you can click on and go directly to Amazon or whatever the case may be. But visually, I don't understand why we've been spending the last decade trying to fill the screen, and now all of a sudden we're going in the totally opposite direction. But I don't know, maybe there's a plan that I'm not seeing right now, because that might just be phase one. Who knows?
Because Instagram launched this format,
yeah,
which I find strange. So if we did this right now, all we'd get right now is our eyes and our teeth out of this whole shot. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And I know they do sell anamorphic lenses, like Siri. They sell the anamorphic lenses, and they're pretty good. They're pretty wide, but even that aspect ratio isn't what Instagram is pushing. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's really for links, and you can have more captions or something underneath is what they're trying for. But I saw some great work. I'm not knocking it. I saw some really cool shots. I saw some creativity in that. But for me, like I felt like it's majority of people had like a black screen after. So
Yeah,
it wasn't really much of a point for it. And like I've already said, like I would prefer a horizontal video than a vertical one. So I definitely not going to like this one that is so small and it's hard to see on your phone. Unless you have like an iPhone Max Pro or something, maybe it looks better than that, or on an iPad. But except for that, like on your regular phone, it's not doing much.
Like, to go back to you were saying you hate vertical videos. Like, I think for me, I definitely, from a creator's perspective, it's a pain in the ass to try to squeeze everything in a vertical frame. You lose all the, especially I like to shoot wide, and even if I'm like up close and have my subject sort of up close and personal, I like to see what's around them to give context. So yeah, like you, I don't really like to produce vertical videos, but I think it's like, people do love to watch it, first of all, because the platforms are for phones, and when you're on your phone, you don't want to have to turn your phone all the time. But also, I think it goes back to like almost just feeling like the camera's not there. Like I think like that's why phone footage is popular on social media versus like overproduced content, which can be popular too, but like people don't really care that much. Like it's more for us who like really enjoy, like, oh, look at what I did, how well produced it is, blah, 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 where the viewer will be fine with something that comes out of an iPhone or whatever. And if you go back to like television, like way back then, you couldn't show that it was a TV show. Like you would never go through what they call the fourth wall. Like if there was a camera in the shot, that shot wasn't making it in the show. I worked on like outdoorsy type shows, and like people were on boats. If there was like a splash of water in the lens, you couldn't use that shot. Like anything that made it obvious that it was film. If the boom mic gets in the shot, like all these things were just not allowed. All that changed through years, especially with reality TV and all that stuff. But my point is that being vertical, it kind of makes the idea that it's being filmed kind of disappear, because it looks more normal, more everyday, more everything in that sense, and not having that wide shot, just being that tight vertical thing, just makes you forget that it's like a produced kind of content and overproduced, I should say, and it kind of makes it more natural, and people kind of let themselves go into believing whatever they're seeing, which now is becoming crazy with that new, what's it called? That new, I don't have my phone, but like that AI.
Nano banana?
No, it's like Sema or Sona or something like that. It's like AI. It's basically TikTok, but everything on it is AI produced. And then you can see like like I saw recently a series of videos of like Jake Paul, like in Montreal, speaking like French Canadian slang and eating poutine, and you see like Michael Jackson hanging out with whoever, and it's like it's their voice and it's their body, like they look exactly like the real deal. And it's like it's all AI, so you can put like you can use pictures of yourself and make yourself like do whatever. So yeah, all that to say that now vertical content is getting pretty crazy because it's hard to tell what's true and what's not.
Yeah, it really is. You know, I will say one thing about vertical content. I do find when I have to do vertical content for customers and stuff like that, it does push my creativity. It does make me try new things, and it does make me kind of think differently if I know ahead of time that I'm going to be putting out some vertical content. And it does kind of get me out of my comfort zone, which is a good thing. So I got some questions for you, V. So in sports videography for shooters, what does that mean for them? Like for storytelling, what should they be doing? Is it like tighter framing, faster edits, more storytelling? What is helping push vertical content in your opinion? Or is it all of the above?
Well, yeah, I think storytelling is applies to any type of content. I wouldn't go tighter, like when you say tighter framing, it's the opposite. I would go wider. So just to allow you to have like a vertical shot that doesn't crop. Like at the moment, like my shot, if I was to frame it for horizontal, I would probably be way more pushed in. But I know that most of that, my use of this content will be on Instagram and TikTok, and it's going to be vertical. So I make sure that I frame it in a way that once I crop out the left and right side of my body, you can at least see my shoulders. So it's all these things to keep in mind. So to me, that's the priority. It's more the composition of the shot, making sure that the shot makes sense, and that's all. If like obviously if you're filming horizontally, like in the landscape format, so just always keep in mind that you're going to use your footage, if not exclusively, you're definitely going to use it a lot in a vertical form. So don't zoom in too much. Try to keep the action or your subject in the middle as much as possible. If you think, like for example, if it's a football game, it's going to be hard to follow a pass, a long bomb or something. So like shoot it wider, because when you get to the edit, you can always just sort of, with position keyframes, like keep the ball centered. But if you film too tight and it goes out of frame, then you can't come back from that. So to me, the main thing for me is to shoot wide.
Yeah, because sports is really hard to do. It's hard to do vertical. Talking head is a lot easier. Mm-hmm. But like if you're always cropping in horizontal, do you feel like you're behind the game, or do you think that's just the safe, smart way to go? Because there are times when you could have a vertical setup or a horizontal setup.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's because the thing is, again, if you're filming vertical, in a way, quality is going to be better and a lot less work in post-production. But the downside is you can turn horizontal footage into vertical footage. You can't go the other way around. Like once it's vertical, you can't produce anything horizontal with it. So you have to be 100% sure that you're only going to need it for vertical output, and that never, and at the end of the year, they're not going to say, oh, you know what, let's do a video for our end of year party, or let's do a recap, the long form recap that we're going to put on YouTube. Like you got to make sure these things have zero chance of happening, because if they do, you're kind of fucked. So that's why I prefer to film horizontally, because my footage usually gets like a second life or a second use here or there, especially on my YouTube channel. But also by filming vertically, it gets a lot harder to follow the action. So like if you're filming an individual sport and you're focused on one person, or like a combat sport or something like that, probably a lot easier. But if you're filming football, basketball, when you're looking at the action through your screen, it's hard if you're only seeing that vertical thing to know where the ball is going and to know where the other players are. So when there's a pass, when there's like a quick sort of change of direction, it's hard to be on the money and keep the ball in frame at all times and know where to stop and all these different things. So you're going to miss a lot more shots. I'm not saying you're going to miss everything. A lot of people do it. I've tried it, and it wasn't that hard in the sense that, like I said, I was filming a bit wider as well, like even vertical. So you don't miss everything, but it's safer to film horizontal. Let's put it that way.
The advantages of filming vertical, though, if you're shooting in 4K and then your timeline, like most of the vertical exports are 1080. You know, if you shoot wide, you could always zoom in and you're not going to lose any of that resolution. So that's kind of nice. So I shared with you the other day, E, I made my own vertical setup. Basically for talking head stuff, for my LinkedIn videos that I do and that. And it was the first time that I actually like mounted a base plate to the side of my camera, you know, used my monitor horizontally. And honestly, so far, I'm happy with it. But you have to realize when you're going to shoot vertical, you're going to have to build up your camera a bit. You definitely 100% need a cage. You need a different side handle because the cameras aren't meant to be shot that way, you know? So you need a little bit of accessories, and you can achieve a lot with it. Like, I'm very happy with it. But I feel like there's some must things that you do. You definitely need your guidelines. So whether you're shooting horizontally or vertical, on your camera, you have to set up guidelines. You have to know exactly where the center is, where the cutoff points are, because it's going to really help your image. Because if you're just shooting blind and you don't have your guidelines up, you're going to get lost. You know, because you have to have a buffer zone. At least I feel on like, you know, shoot wide, I'll come in later, because it really makes that viewfinder smaller. I feel like I lose so much space with the vertical format, and it is a learning curve. You have to get used to it. You have to get comfortable with it. So definitely have a cage, have a nice comfy handle. Make sure you have a really good monitor with your guidelines, because it will definitely help out your shot.
No, it's true. But for that view, like you said, filming in 4K allows you to push in basically to 200% in post without losing any quality. So I would shoot wide. Again, I've been saying that like 100 times, and we're only like 15 minutes into the episode. But like, yeah, you can shoot wider, see more, have a better shot in terms of like your camera movements and everything. Everything is going to be a lot more fluid, and knowing that you can push and post and focus on wherever the action is. But yeah, if I was to film a game vertical, I would definitely shoot it with like I don't think I would go, let's say for basketball, 35 to 50 type of focus length would be fine. So that way I keep it wide. I can get everything. It's a lot easier to see where the ball is going and where everyone is. And then I can zoom in and post when I'm editing.
Actually, that's a great point. Yeah, I guess in basketball, instead of using your 70 to 200, you could use your 28 to 75 or something like that, because you will get that extra punch in on your edit. So when you are going into vertical and you're filming vertical, it changes the lenses that you might want to bring with you to these events, you know, where even the wider, so your 16 to 35 or 17 to 28, those all of a sudden you would use a lot more than if you were shooting horizontal. I would just use those as for establishing shots or warm-ups, stuff like that. I probably wouldn't use them for in-game. But all of a sudden, if you're shooting vertical, you could totally use those in-game because of that 2% zoom in that you can get.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. If I was, especially on the baseline, I would definitely use my 16 to 35 and just even, you know, maybe be on the gimbal or something, and which I did once. I think I had like a 35 prime and yeah, just shot with that the entire game, and that was fine. Because especially, like I said, you can zoom in, you can add a bit of like a push in on the shot and things like that, and it looks great.
And what else you can do too in your cameras is set up presets for vertical shooting. So, you know, you can have your regular, you know, how we have the 1, 2, 3 on your Sonys. You can make one so it's just for vertical. Also, with your guidelines, you know, with all that stuff. So when you flip your camera, you know you're ready to go, because your guidelines are a little bit different too, right?
Yeah, true. Well, I mean,
depending how you want it, you could set it up how you want. But I mean, I would definitely, and I also feel like if I'm shooting vertical, well, sports is different. I would probably shoot mostly in 24 frame, only because I know it's going to be a faster edit. If they're going for reels, I'm not probably going to do as much slow motion, and I'll just commit to the speed. That's how I would tackle it. What about you? You would still shoot at 60 or 120 in case?
I think I would probably shoot at 60 just in case. But well, you're right. It's probably going to be a faster edit, less of a slow dramatic build up at the start. Like you probably not going to have that part. But I would probably still shoot at 60 to be honest, just so that I can speed ramp, and especially if I'm going to zoom in on like different shots or different catches in football or hits, things like that. Like I want the possibility to be able to like zoom in, slow it down, see the impact, move forward, things like that.
I shoot at 60 just to kind of save my ass, because I'm not planning to shoot everything in slow-mo or have the ability to shoot everything in slow-mo. But the second you don't shoot it in 60 and you want to do slow-mo, you're so mad at yourself. I mean, there's ways around it. You can add a different value to your frame rate later on in post and that, but it's not the same. It's not the same as shooting in 60. So the reason why I shoot 60 most of the time is because of that. But I prefer the 24 frame look by far.
Oh, yeah.
I notice a difference right away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. But does anyone else notice it?
Probably not. Probably no one else notices it all, but I know it. All right. So would you ever go to an event and maybe rock two cameras and have one vertical one and one horizontal one, depending on client's needs? Or is it more one of those things where I'll just turn my camera and I'll go with it?
Well, it depends on what type of event we're talking about. Like if it's like talking heads, things like that, it would definitely make sense just to save. That way you can frame them both kind of ready to go, especially if you need to output a lot of like social media clips and things like that. But for a game, I think that like if we're talking, I'm assuming we're talking like having your camera and then having a second camera or phone sort of attached to it,
or even having a second camera beside you that you're like, hey, I want to get this these shots in vertical.
Yeah, well, I feel like you'd be trying to get both shots right and end up messing up both of them because you're doing half the job on. So like for a game, an actual like sporting event, I probably wouldn't do it. I'd much rather have like my second camera, maybe have like a safe wide shot that's there that I can sort of crop and do whatever with. But yeah, it was for me to do that, it would be more like interviews and things like that, I'd say.
I have put an iPhone on top of my camera, or I've even tried my Pocket 3 on top of my camera shooting vertical. It's very handy. Your angle's always a little bit off, and I always prefer the horizontal image myself. But it is nice if you have to get stuff out there quick, So if you're doing, I don't know, say a draft or something like I did it at a Quebec Major Junior draft. So I was filming everything to edit later, and then for quick clips, I did it right on my phone, and it was easy. I had the same angle, well, pretty much, and I would just forward it off, and they could upload it as soon as they want it. So it all depends on your workflow and how fast you need it. Because I feel like vertical content, people want it right away, where they just want the clip. Where horizontal, you have more time, they want to edit it. You can edit nicer pieces, more cinematic. Where vertical, it's like everybody wants everything right away. So workflow, you just did a whole series about Adobe Auto-Reframing and all that. So what's your takeaway on the Auto-Reframing? Because I've used it, and sometimes it works great, and sometimes it's awful. Yeah, so where do you stand on it?
I didn't even know it existed until I made this video, to be honest.
Really?
But I tried it. It's hit and miss, especially for sports, because you're following the ball, not necessarily a person. So sometimes it will understand. If like for basketball, for example, if my camera goes up and follows the basketball, it's gonna understand what's going on. But for football, if like the football is going through people, like at sort of head level, it's probably not gonna understand that this is the focus. But all that to say that it's hit and miss. So if you have like a sequence with like, I don't know, like 15, 20 clips in it, probably 5 or 6 are going to be real good that you don't need to touch. And then the other ones you're probably going to have to adjust, fine tune, which is the same with any kind of, auto thing, whether it's tracking or stabilizing. Like there's always a few clips that just don't end up looking good, and you have to adjust and fine tune with the settings and things like that. So it's kind of a similar situation. I feel like some of it's going to work, some not. Some you're just going to do it yourself because it's going to be a lot less complicated to start from a blank slate than to try to correct all the mistakes. So yeah, it's just another one of those things. Very similar to tracking, I'd say.
So I do use it. I usually have a horizontal video and clients. I'll use it a lot for in the 4:5 format. I do the 4:5 format because this way, if my clients want to run ads in that, it's just a simpler format where they can have some information on the bottom. Their click now or learn now or buy now tab. It's very accessible. The one thing I do like about it is you have a 16:9 timeline. You click auto reframe and automatically makes you the timeline you want in that specific sequence, like in that size, you know? So it's kind of fast that way. I don't like the fact that every time I want to adjust a clip, there's two options. You either go into it, you edit their keyframes, or you unclick auto reframe and it just kind of expands, boom. And then you start from scratch. You know, I feel like there could be a better way to do that, but I understand it's a software. It's just looking at the whole project as a whole, and it's just kind of trying to isolate the best parts it can. It can't identify every clip, so that it's hard. But when you have a big project and you got to like unclick auto reframe all the time, yeah, it's annoying. I get to the point where I'm like, I should have just manually done this myself. It would have been faster. And then I was telling you before we started the show, I actually had to do one for a client, and I had this group shot that they wanted. So I feel like when you're editing these vertical videos, you have to always be creative and try and figure out ways that how am I going to get this wide group shot into this vertical format. So that's where you kind of got to be creative, and you kind of got to go like, I have like two images, like a close up of the people in the image, and then a wide shot on top. And I feel like vertical video, that's where you can be creative. You know, you could put logos on the bottom. You could put information on the bottom. You could, there's those nice videos that people do where there's 5 actual different shots that all come in. So as much as I don't like vertical, is a lot of opportunity to be creative and show different things that you probably wouldn't do in horizontal. Now, there are becoming more and more tools. And I think the Adobe one is really, really a good start. I just feel like they still needs a little bit more work because it's not so cut and dry, you know. It's not perfect. And not that talking head stuff I find is really, really good. But even if you do talking head stuff and you make a cut in your horizontal, so say if I do a talking head and it's 4K on 1080, so I'm at 50%, and then my cut where he kind of messes up his line, I'll come in at 75%. When I auto frame it, those two shots are the exact same size. Like it doesn't recognize that I've already zoomed in and that I want a tighter shot on the next one. And that's where I feel it's lacking.
Yeah, no, all you're saying is true. I think for me, it's like I'm used to do it manually. So anything, if it only gets 30% of my shots done for me, that's 30% less I have to deal with. So you see it half empty, I see it half full, basically.
Well, yeah, I've been using it a little longer. I mean, I guess you're right in that sense because it does save you from opening a new sequence, copying all that footage and doing it, and then manually doing it. Where if you press auto reframe, yeah, maybe 20% is pretty good. Or 30%. I mean, I think you went a little high with 30%. I'll give you the 30%. I'll give you the 30%.
And also, like, to me, it's like a vertical sequence. How long can it be? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's probably going to be like a 30 to 40 second sequence. So, and especially for me, for my content, some of it is going to be talking head, just very easy to reposition. So, like, it's just, you know, there's probably like 20-second worth of footage that I'm actually going to have to play with position keyframes and all that stuff, which is not fun, but it doesn't take forever. Like, you know, I mean, so it's not that bad. But in saying that, my videos are pretty simple. Like if I'm someone who's using After Effects and all these different things, and now you got to reframe everything, like it's a whole other ball game. But yeah, but at the same time, people who do that usually just edit in vertical to begin with. So.
But if you are editing in vertical though, right? The way that you adjust your image with tracking and that, you are going to become very good very fast with keyframing, because you're constantly using, especially in sports, you are constantly using keyframing. So I feel like if you are editing vertical, it's a great way to practice keyframing because you need it so much in vertical.
Yeah, well, I think it's that's the fun part of it in a way. Like it's like you're filming a bit wider, and then you just everything comes to life in the edit, where it's in the edit that you decide, do I want a wide shot? Do I want a close up? Do I want a push in? Do I want a pan? Like you can do all these things later because you've got all this real estate to play with, because basically your image is that big and your frame is only this big. So you can sort of do all that in post, kind of like the same way when you're filming with a 360 camera. It's all in post production that you decide where it's actually pointing and what the size of your frame, all those sort of things. I think like vertical video is very similar to that. And it's for people who just learn to edit that way and started doing videography where vertical video is already a thing and that's all they do. For them, it's just part of the process. Like they wouldn't, to them to shoot horizontal and just put the image like 100% scale into the timeline and that's it. That's what you've got to work with. That would be very limiting for them. It's almost a freedom to be shooting vertical, which for you it's the exact opposite.
Yeah,
because you're old.
Well, because honestly, part of it is that. So when I work in the corporate world, right, and I give people a vertical video, they're like, what do I do with this? Is this just for Instagram? I'm like, no, you can put it everywhere. But people are used to seeing the horizontal videos, right? Especially like if you're doing like a nice company shot on that. So you kind of got to transition them into the vertical stuff because they do need vertical also. But in sports, if you go to a game, the Jumbotron is not vertical. It is horizontal. That video is made horizontal. And then that editor has to crop and keyframe and get it ready for vertical so you can view it on your phone. So there is like some back and forth. Some videos are just meant for phones. Some are meant for other stuff, and they're always repurposed for phones after. And that's really the communication thing you need with your clients.
Do you think Jumbotrons one day will be vertical?
I don't think so, because why would broadcast go vertical? I do feel like Jumbotrons will have vertical elements though, like maybe some extra side panels that could be vertical that you can have on it. But like a TV, right? Would you want a vertical TV in your house to watch a movie? No. Maybe one
Depends
day
on the room.
It depends on the room, yeah. But like one day it might, But I mean, watching sports horizontal in your living room would be pretty hard. It'd be pretty hard to film. It'd be pretty hard to, you just have to be faster. So
yeah. Usually, actually, it's the other way around. Where Jumbotrons, like in the bigger stadiums, like they make them ultra wide. It's like it makes the whole back of the stadium is just like a super wide screen and becomes a nightmare to edit. Like I've worked with a few of those and your image is never wide enough. So you have to either put two of them next to each other or anyway. But so
that's where Instagram got that idea of that slit. Instagram's ahead of the game. They're like going with what Jumbotron's going with.
But also seen at basketball games where there's the main screen, but there's also like in the corners, there'll be like vertical screens. And on those, you wouldn't put like the actual video, but like, for example, the same way, at the Bell Center, you got, what's it called? That thing that Eric works on, the ribbon?
The power ring?
Yes. So the power ring is not there to present video. It's there to complement the video. I'm talking in the context of a hype reel. Like it's going to be showing elements from the video or to complement the video. So having vertical screens, a lot of times that's what they do. They like, let's say it's a player presentation, like on the vertical screen, you'll get like a headshot of the player or something like that, where on the video screen, you'll see action and things like that. So it's to complement and give like the full experience throughout the stadium on multiple. You have the powering, the vertical screens, the main screen, and that. So it becomes very complicated to film all these things, obviously. Like that's why you have like 9 stations at a media at a media day, because everything serves a different purpose. But yeah, I digress. But the point is, I think vertical is coming to like, maybe not our homes, but oh, it could. But yeah, it is part of like stadium entertainment, but just in a different. It serves its own purpose. It's not like replacing the jumbotron.
No, but it is cool that we have these different formats, because as video editors, it does give us a little bit of extra work. It does keep us creative. But what I want to get to now is like, so how did this attention shift from regular horizontal? Because when you and I started, not to age ourselves, but we started editing, it was 4:3. Okay. And then we got HD. And it was 16:9 everywhere. And we had to upgrade our footage. We had to upgrade our cameras. And now everybody wants vertical because let's be honest, we're too lazy to do this. That's it. We're just too lazy to turn our wrists. And I get caught scrolling too, and it's easy. But that's what it's all about. We have vertical video because it's just easier for us to scroll on our phones, no?
Oh yeah, because it gives you it removes the opportunity to move on to something else. If it's all vertical, you're just scrolling and moving on to the next one, and you're always watching the same way. When you're watching Netflix or Prime, there's that as soon as the generic the credits come on, 2 seconds later, whoop, it jumps to the next thing to make sure that you don't stop watching. It's the same thing. If you had to turn your video every single time you're watching a video, just that extra step might make you just realize that you've been on Instagram for too long. So they don't want you to think about that. So yeah, that's the main purpose.
Algorithms are rewarding you for vertical content. Like now, if you're a YouTuber, right? So if I'm going on your YouTube page and I see your horizontal video, I automatically understand that is the longer version. That is where I'm going to get the most value by watching your video. When I see your reels or your short form, I understand I'm just getting a quick hit, a quick piece of information, but the main goal is to go back to the main video. But now you're getting way more views on your shorts than you are on your big videos, right? So that's how they're rewarding people. And you get pushed to more people through your reels than you would ever on your long form content. Where 5 years ago when you started Beyond the Game, that wasn't the case, right? You weren't posting shorts. You were just posting your full videos and sharing your full videos, basically, right?
Yeah, I don't know if 5 years is accurate, but yeah, I see what you mean. But I think like it's because I like when short form started, a lot of the people creating long form content like myself were using the short form just to push, like what you just described, basically just as a promo to get people to watch the long form. But I think like what we're all realizing now is that first of all, it doesn't mean that because I like your short video, I'm automatically going to watch the long one. Because a lot of people consume short form because that's what they like. And also I like, for example, there's a lot of stuff that I see on TikTok and Instagram that's like TV content, for example. Like I love, very strong way to put it, but like I like seeing like late night shows like the Jimmy Fallon and all that. I like a good like 40-second clip of someone that I find interesting. Would I go watch the entire late night show? Hell no. Like I haven't done that in like 15 years. But if there's a good 40-second clip with Kevin Hart being funny, I'll watch. Like, and so there's a lot of that. So like a lot of people will enjoy certain shows or certain like content creators in short form because that's how they enjoy watching them. But they wouldn't be interested in watching me talk for 15 minutes. Like, but if I give them a short that is self-contained and interesting, that they'll like. So there's all sorts of reasons why people watch short form. So you have to be aware of your audience and ask yourself, like, why are they there? Like, what are they there for? And then produce content accordingly.
Yeah, well, actually, it's funny because I see a lot of Joe Rogan clips on my stuff.
Of course you do.
But I've never watched this podcast, but I feel like I have because I've seen so many clips, or people use his intro, like watch this clip and then it cuts to their clip. Like there are ways to segue. But now in sports, like, listen, teams need clips right away. They want highlights. They don't always want hype reels now. And it's kind of changing where, during a Canadians game now, well, a guy scores a goal that we're trying to figure out how are we getting that goal Either it was filmed on a Sony by one of the Habs TV guys, or broadcast. How are we getting that goal online as fast as possible after the guy scores it, And there are no real game recaps after that teams are doing. The league is doing it, and they're sharing that. So what people are consuming is changing. And now, like, I'm not just filming a live game anymore. We're kind of feeding this content chain with all these clips during a game. So you don't have to watch the game. You could just go and see, oh, the Canadians won 3-2, 1, 2, 3. I saw all 3 goals. I'm good. So, and it's a lot different than a couple years ago. And this is something that, us as sports videographers and creators, that we have to kind of think also is like, okay, I don't always have to, I'm filming for this high school. Well, let's just give the nice dunks that I have and give them those clips, and I'll do a highlight package for them after, but let's get them these clips right away, because these are what the kids are going to share. These are what are going to get a lot of views. This is what's going to get a lot of engagement.
Well, that's why I think like those broadcast deals, and again, I'm getting sidetracked, but I think that those TV broadcast deals that were billions at the moment, until like while people like you and I, our age, are still watching TV, they're going to be fine. But as soon as we get too old and it's the next generation, a lot of people are going to be just consuming sport the way you just described, except for the Super Bowl and, playoffs and things like that. So it's, I think the money in those deals is going to go down, and therefore salaries as well. But anyway, I digress.
So I look at it in a different way. Okay. So the way that we consume regular TV now is, I don't know about you, but I never watch anything live. I watch it later on, or I'll wait till a series is over and then I'll binge watch the whole season.
Yeah, but sport is probably the only one that you still watch.
Exactly.
Live,
exactly. That's where the advantage of sports is. If I'm a fan and I have the time, then I'm going to try to watch that event live. And if I miss anything, I can watch those clips later on. Or if I want to see the league clips or other teams, then it's easy to just go and consume those clips really fast. That's where the advantage of sports is. And even with this whole AI taking over, AI is going to do camera, AI is going to do this. I feel like in sports, it's really, really hard for AI to take over because it's so fast. There's so many things happening. There's so many different things to focus on, where it's not like a general news show where we can have maybe 2 robotic cameras and they know that they're getting 3 angles, like a wide and a close-up of each. Where in sports, you need that human element, at least for now. Maybe 10 years from now.
Because I think, because like my point is that like you're right with saying that, like that it's the only thing we watch live, and that's why it's worth so much money. But I think that that's true for people that are, let's say, 35 years old and older. I think the younger generation will keep up on their phone live and say, oh, close game, blah, blah. And then they'll go to the highlight, the 10-minute condensed package and watch that.
The only issue, it's not really related to vertical or horizontal, but I will get on it, is with younger generation, I wonder how many people will go to games live, because it's starting to get outpriced for a lot of people to go see a live event. And is it easier to just consume it on your phone or on your TV than actually go to, say, the Bell Center or to go see a live game? You know what I mean? Because the price is not. Because
I think it's still going to be people going, but it's going to be more. Well, like the Bell Center is a prime example. Like it's going to be more of an older corporate type of crowd, where it's
You know what? It is and it isn't, because there are a lot of young people that go and a lot of young people that are excited when they're there. It's just how many games can those people go to? I think that's the real question. Because, some people, like, your corporate tickets you give away and the guy gives it to his kids or gives it to the teenagers or whoever, and they want to go. Like my son, my niece, and that, they always want to go to games. They're always excited to go. It's just, if I don't hook them up with tickets or someone doesn't hook them with tickets, they can't afford to go. So that's where having that content right away on your phone, you still feel connected to that team. You still feel like you're part of it because you have instant access right away now. I don't know. That's what I look at.
Yeah, but I think if the price tickets goes up, there's always going to be people paying. It's going to be a certain demographic. Like it's not going.
It's only going to be videographers buying those tickets who can afford to go.
Well, you saw recently where the LeBron James was teasing a second announcement. Did you see that thing?
Yeah,
and then ended up being an ad, but like during the 2 days that it was like, oh, is he announcing his retirement? The Lakers went like the cheapest ticket at the Lakers went from like $85 to like $600. I don't know if it was a plan just to make the conspiracy even, feel even more real, but like some people I'm sure bought tickets like way overpriced thinking, this is his retirement tour, a Kobe-esque kind of last season. And it was like, I'm buying tickets.
Yeah. Okay, so actually, speaking of that, I'll bring it back. I'll tie that back into our thing. If you were filming a moment like that, yeah, we were talking about vertical versus horizontal. If you were filming a moment like that, LeBron James's last game, there's no chance in hell I'm filming that vertical. I want to capture as much as I can and deal with the footage after.
Well, mostly I wouldn't do it for the simple fact that you're going to be using it over and over and over in multiple forms, so you can't box yourself into a vertical shot only. But in saying that, if you're filming an event like that, there's probably people dedicated to vertical and people dedicated to horizontal, and you can use whatever you see fit at the right time. So,
okay.
But if, like, to your point, if you're the only videographer and you're filming an important game, then yes, I'm filming everything horizontal because I want to be able to use it for everything.
Is there anything else you want to add on your favorite video aspect?
Well, are we talking triangles? Is that what you heard my theory about where everything's going? No, but no, I think, yeah, well, I think we said pretty much everything, but the only other thing I'd say if we're trying to move on to something a bit different, like whether it's the style, the grade, all that sort of stuff, it's obviously the same tools, same way of doing it, but like because it's on the phone, I like to push a bit harder on not because it's on the phone, because it's on social media platforms, add a bit of sharpening just to make everything extra sharp, because the social media platforms, when you upload, like, they compress your videos a lot. So I like to push the sharpening a bit more. Some people like to kind of overdo it with the saturation for the same reason. And if not because of the compression, just because they want to make sure that when you're scrolling, your footage kind of pops out and stands out. So yeah, there's little things like that can be kind of hacks to, not that they're going to guarantee views, but they're hacks to kind of grab people's attention and make your videos kind of separate themselves from the rest. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any other little tricks up your sleeve?
The only thing is, if I know something's going right to social, which most stuff do in sports, I think boosting your shutter helps to kind of get that little element of sharpness. That's the only other thing that I would add, because you pretty much nailed everything else. And the only downfall is it looks like vertical is becoming the new standard, at least for social media. And I'm not crazy about that trend, because it's not a trend anymore. It's just, that's the norm now.
Yeah.
And when you have videos for people or clients and that, you need to do vertical. So the only thing is plan accordingly. Ask them, say, what do you need? What do you want vertical? And then, maybe those things you shoot wider, or you go to a vertical setup if that's what you really, really need.
Another thing as well I was going to add to the tricks, the hacks, is if you're doing a lot of camera movements, like in post, like because your action is all over the frame, so you're moving left, right, and all that stuff, adding motion blur is a good thing as well, because otherwise your movements, especially if they're quite fast because you're following a pass or a shot, it doesn't look very natural. So if you add a bit of motion blur, and that way when the camera moves, it blurs, and the faster it moves, the blurrier it gets, it makes it more real and looks better.
Yeah. And the only other tip is E thinks that auto reframing saves him a lot of time at 30%. Okay.
I'm just saying it saves me more time than not using it.
No, it does save time. But Adobe, come on, make it a little bit better. Make that keyframe a little bit better, and we're good to go. It's definitely a nice feature.
It'd be great if it was kind of combined with like the tracking thing, where you could say, for example, like, reframe this clip by focusing on this thing. You know what I mean? If you put like you click on you put the square that you have for tracking and say, this is what I want to be the center of my image, reframe. That would be ideal. I don't know
There
if
you
it would
go.
work, but it would be ideal.
Well, because in sports, you see a lot of the vertical videos where the guy's head's in the middle of the screen and he just kind of follows around in that. And you have to do that in After Effects. But if you were able to do that in Adobe with the Auto-Reframe, that would be great.
Yeah, because some cameras do it in camera where you can, like with the gimbals and stuff, like follow this. You put like a square around the subject and it just follows him around.
Yeah.
Could do that in
It doesn't keep it center screen though. Like I've done it with my DJI stuff, and it tracks the person and it moves it, but it doesn't keep them center screen. It just kind of keeps them in the screen. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's it for vertical video today, and that's it for our episode
and
of
the future of sports.
And that's it. That's it. All right. Take care.